he's rehearsing that story, and he's thinking, yeah, that's the police behind me. Yeah, I'm about to get stopped because I was speeding. And he admits to himself, I was wrong. So he pulls over without using his turn signal because he's like, this dude's going to stop me. So he just starts going over. Trooper's like, wow, why this dude moving over so quick? Right? So the trooper ends up turning his lights on and he pulls him over. Hey, how you doing? I'm Trooper Weller with the Indiana State Police. The reason I stopped you today is because you're exceeding the posted 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. Did you know? Now, I really wasn't paying attention to my speed, but I know that I was speeding. Like, wow. Any reason why you didn't use your turn signal? Because I saw you behind me and I knew I was getting pulled over, so I figured I'd just pull over. He's like, wow. So he's like, okay, I'll be right back. Goes back to his car, and he writes a ticket, or electronic now, types out a ticket for his speed, types out a warning for the lane change. Goes back up to the car, gives the guy the ticket for the speed, the warning for the lane change, and the guy's like, thank you very much. He's like, wow. He's like, yeah, I appreciate that. You could have wrote me 2 tickets, you wrote me 1. I appreciate that. Is it okay? I'm going to use this when I go talk to the kids today. And I'm going to tell them that when I initially got stopped, I thought you were going to be a butthole. And I'm going to let them know that me thinking that, but actually having a respectful interaction with you, you having a respectful interaction with me, I'm going to let them know. Because what do we believe? We believe that when you get stopped by the police, and if you did not notice, I'm black, right? So I have experienced a lot of things that people say happen. One of the things that I can say is that sometimes when people say what happened, they leave out bits and pieces of what happened before they say what happened. That was a whole lot to say that sometimes folks be lying. So this particular gentleman, he's like, wow. So the trooper talks to him a little bit, and he's like, can I get that ticket back? He's like, oh man, this dude's about to work me. This is what the driver's thinking. Takes the ticket back. He gives the trooper the ticket. The trooper rips it up, tears it up right there on the side of the road. And the guy's like, wow, what's that about? He was like, you don't need a ticket because you knew what you did. So he goes and he speaks with him, and now they have an opportunity to conversate after the traffic stop technically is over. And can I take a picture of you? He's like, no, I'm not gonna let you put me on Facebook, because he's like, what you gonna put me on Facebook for? So he says no, and he lets him go on his way. This particular driver pulls to the shoulder, and he records himself after the traffic stop, and he posts it on his Facebook page, and he tells what happened during the traffic stop and how something that he thought was going to be a negative experience actually turned out to be a positive experience, because both the trooper and him had a respectful attitude toward one another. Don't worry about it. It's everybody. So, and it could be a system, because so many people are trying to see this right now on today that it just bogged the system down. So he posts this video, and in this video, this cat he's like, wow, he's so touched that what he was thinking before didn't actually play out on the traffic stop. He posts this, and a day later, a couple days later, I end up getting a phone call. We get a phone call from headquarters in Indianapolis. Hey, who is this trooper this dude is talking about that wrote a ticket and tore it up on the side of the road? So I'm like, he not one of mine. He works on the toll road. But what's the problem? So they end up getting in contact with this guy, speaking with him, and he goes over his story. So because of that, the Indiana State Police, our Public Information Office, they end up producing this video that is not working on today. However, it has worked in the past, and I can guarantee you that. But that's one of the things that that we as police departments, and especially in this day and age, have to do, and that is make ourselves available to the public. And by producing this video, and for whatever reason, after he put this on Facebook, his Facebook blew up. And he started receiving calls from Department of Defense, and he talks about that, to do some training for some of the soldiers overseas. And he talks about these things. And everything that I'm saying is basically that the police-community relationship is whatever we make it to be, right? You get what you expect. And I often use the example, for a year I worked in the gaming division. And if you ever been to the casinos, at one point in time, troopers filled the roles of the enforcement agents on the gaming boats within the state of Indiana. And whenever I went in with a suit and tie on, I had no problem. If I thought that it was going to be a busy night and I was going to have to go hands-on with somebody, I said, man, I'm wearing some khakis and a polo shirt. I walked up in there with the attitude knowing that I'm going to get into something on the night. And what happened when I went in with a suit and tie? Absolutely nothing. Very rare. When I went in with khakis and a polo shirt, it was on. Because my mindset said that this is what I'm going to expect tonight. It's Friday night. Everybody's going to be drinking and it's going to be busy tonight. Was that because I wore those clothes and my mindset said that this is what's going to happen? Was that because people that were coming to the boat said, hey, it's Friday night and I'm going to get in? I'm going to get in. Both of those things play a part, and that's the bias that he was talking about, and knowing that, hey, you get what you expect. If I go into a situation and I have a negative attitude as a police officer, I'm going to get what I'm looking for. If I stop a car or if I walk into a domestic disturbance and the people see me coming in and they expect a negative interaction with the police, that's exactly what they're going to get. We get what we expect. And a lot of times, even if the police officer is wrong, and I let people know from my church to the schools that I go to, I let them know that if the police officer did something wrong, the roadside is not necessarily the best place to argue your point. That's not where that argument should take place, right? Where the best place is, hey, thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Not quite sure if I deserve this, and you keep on moving. Now, you have an opportunity. There's a system in place at every police department. Why is there a system in place at every police department? Because the Department of Justice says that if you don't have it, then we're going to do it. And you don't want the FBI coming in and investigating your police department, just to let you know. So you call that particular police department and you let them know that these are the things that occurred. I can tell you from my experience that I can't speak for every department within the state of Indiana. Can't speak for every department within Northwest Indiana, but the Indiana State Police, if you lodge a complaint against one of my troopers, it's going to be looked into. And it's better that way because you're not going to win. In the end, nobody's going to win in that situation. If I force my point, you force your point, we just sitting there butting heads. It's like two bulls just going at it. And now we're both looking bad. In my experience, and that's what I can talk about, and in my training, I've had an opportunity to go to Northwestern's Police Staff and Command and had an opportunity to do a number of things on this department that I may not have had a chance to do had I chosen another profession. But one of the things that I can tell you is that a professional police department is what we should be pushing for when we look to make changes within our community. And why do I say that? Because if you expect professionalism from your police department, then that's what you're going to receive, right? Does that make sense? Profession, and this is a profession because you have standards, you have continual training, you have continuous training, and by being a professional, the cultural diversity and the interaction among the police department and the community. Now, because you are being involved in your community, now, just like Byron said, you get an opportunity to overcome the fears that we have. And just like he said, a lot of times, bias is based on fear. Those negative biases that we have, a lot of times are based on fear because you are afraid of this or you are unsure of that, you're uncomfortable with this situation. So if we become involved in our communities, if we, for me, and that's one of the things that our superintendent is pushing so hard. Who works in here? Anybody got a job? Nobody works? Okay, it's okay. Okay, on my job, right, with the Indiana State Police, my superintendent encourages his troopers to go out and go to have lunch with their kids at the school, right? You thinking, I'm paying you to go and go to your kid's school to have lunch? Yeah. So what does that do? That gives young children an opportunity to see a trooper. You remember I told you I didn't see a trooper until I was about 20. So that gives that young kid an opportunity to see somebody that may not have seen. That gives that kid in inner city Gary, Chicago, Hammond, Valparaiso, that gives them an opportunity to see that police officer and interact, to see that, man, this dude is a regular dude. He's a police officer, that's what he does from 9 to 5. But the rest of that time, he's a person. And that's the biggest thing that came out of this interaction between this gentleman and Trooper Weller. Trooper Weller explained to him on the roadside and talked to him, and they're talking, and he said, boss, I just want to let you know, because he said, I thought that all police officers were just bad. You know, I didn't have a positive feeling about them. And the trooper tells him, hey, I'm just like you. I don't know, when I pull a car over, or when I walk into a house, I don't know if I'm going home that night. All I want to do is work my shift and go home and see my wife and my daughter. That's what he tells, or my wife and my child. That's what he tells this cat. And he said, wow, this gentleman, it clicks, like, he's just like me. We want the same thing. And that's what I think we as a community need to understand. For the most part, police officers are just like any other person in the community. They want to go home to a safe house. They want their kids to go to a good school. They want to be able to make a living and take care of their family. And what he's saying, and he pushes it out, and he even wrote a book about the South and some other things. I thought that was pretty deep, how you get a whole book out of that. But he realized that we are the same. The only difference is the occupation that we have. And so when we talk about the positive police interactions, we both have responsibility in that, right? So if we, as police officers, we stand on this side, you're gonna be the police today, okay? All right, yeah. So if we stand on this side and everybody else is over there, what good do we have? We're not doing anything. Not saying anything about any particular area. But if you look at the number of murders in some of our cities, and you look at the solve rate on those murders, why is the solve rate so low? Because the police in the community there's a breakdown game. Because the community knows who's doing the killings because they saw the killing. So if we get involved and get entrenched in those communities, but in order to be involved in the community, we have to be received. And instead of, for me, as a human being, as a citizen of the great state of Indiana, I would say that the most important part of all of that is to make sure I would want my community to be as safe as possible. But if I know that Mr. Valparaiso Viking over here is going around terrorizing my neighborhood, it makes no sense for me to protect him. You're not a terrorist. It makes no sense for me to protect him when I know that he's the problem. And there's only 1%, less than 1% of the population that are violent, no good individuals. The rest of the folk are decent folk. So if 1% of the population is jacked up, then that means the rest of us are good. And I'm not a mathematician. I took stats my senior year in college, and I passed, just to let y'all know. But that don't make me a mathematician, and that don't make me a statistical genius. But I can tell you that 99 is far greater than 1. And if we can if we outnumber them, then that means that we can overcome them, generally. You know? So just want to make sure that you all know. Hopefully I got my point across. I didn't expect the what's the name to conk out on us. But the most important thing that we leave here with today, and I'll take some questions later, but the most important thing that we leave here with today is that positive police interactions, it takes both sides to do that, both the police department and the community. And fortunately, here in Valparaiso, your chief is doing a great job from what I've seen. I don't live in Valpo, but from what I've seen and what I've had an opportunity, the conversations that we had, you all are doing a lot better within this particular community than a lot of communities are. So I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll move on to the next person. Hopefully
Thank you, Officer Weems. We'll take another brief break while our third speaker will set up. Paula Tillman, Attorney Paula Tillman, former